So anybody have any good news about their business? Anything that happened positively in the last week since we last met?
I have a couple stories.
Okay.
I had a friend that returned a call, haven't talked to her in a few weeks, but she called and wants to buy a high-rise at Allure. So we went and looked at the condos at Allure this weekend. And so that was fun, interesting, and had 7 lock boxes all once in front of me trying to get all the keys to all the condos. That was fun. But and then just a few callbacks on people that are interested and calls that I'd made weeks ago. Few people are starting to call back, so.
Good. So actively calling people is turning into return calls now.
Yep.
Yeah, always takes a little time. Anybody else with any good business, anything that's happened good in your business in the last week? No, it's not good. It's not good.
I mean, this is not a huge success, but I have been being more consistent with my social media and have had a ton more likes and a ton more people like accept or whatever it's called, like follow me or whatever all that social media stuff is, which of course I know nothing about. So the fact that I'm making progress there is a near miracle, but you know, to me, it's going in the right direction, even though it's not a major win.
Actually, anything positive in the social media world today, I think is a win. I think anything that you can get people to start communicating with you through social media. So let me give you an example of why I think that's important. Let's think back when you were a kid. I mean, when you were 10 years old, and we're all different ages on here, but when you were 10 years old, how did the public communicate with each other?
Phone or in person.
Okay, so making a telephone call, which was a telephone that was attached to a wall somewhere with a cord on it.
Yeah.
Right? Jeff, this is well before your day, so I'm sure you don't understand what we're talking about.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, so when my parents, and when I was a kid, I mean, if somebody wanted to get a hold of me or my parents, or they'd make a telephone call and or go knock on the door, right, face to face, person. So what was the next natural form of communication? What happened next in society?
I'm of the age I should know the answer, but I don't know where we're headed.
I've obviously left mine in my truck. Oh no, here it is. I actually
carried the pager.
Yeah, so next was the pager, and then after the pager became our cell phones, right? So it became more natural to communicate with each other through their cell phone numbers. Do you remember back? Do you know the phrase "You've got mail"?
Oh yeah.
Where does that come from?
AOL.
AOL, right? The very first ever way to digitally communicate with each other through a computer, right? So every day, that was one of the greatest taglines ever, by the way, is "You've got mail," because every American that had a computer woke up every morning to turn on their computer and hoping to hear "You've got mail," right? So email then became a very popular way to communicate. What came next? So we had pagers, cell phones, emails, then what? Texting. Yeah, so texting became and is currently today a pretty popular way to communicate with each other. What came next?
Social media.
Social media?
Mm-hmm.
Like my kids, if you want to communicate with my kids, you're best to send them a snap.
Oh yeah.
Right, or you're best to send them something on Instagram or excuse me, it's called the gram, according to Corey here at the office. So, or in my era, it's most popular to be on Facebook. You remember MySpace, all that stuff, right? So that became ways that we we communicated with each other. So as the world turned and it became different ways of communicating with people, the old ways have gone away. When's the last time somebody you didn't know knocked on your door that was not a salesperson?
Long time.
Like, it just doesn't happen anymore, right? I mean, people just, if somebody knocks on the door at our house, like, everybody dives under the sofa and is like, who is that? We start hiding because we're like, man, this can't be good. Is that the cops? Is that is that the IRS at the door? What's going on, right? I mean, it's a scary kind of, and most people don't even answer their door anymore. They won't even look through the people and answer because they just don't know who it is.
It's true.
So the old ways kind of go away. Does anybody here still have a corded telephone in their house?
I do.
Okay. So 1 out of 6 still has a phone line in their home. I haven't had a phone line in my home for, I don't know, probably 15 or 20 years. It's been a long time. I mean, I think it went away in my mid-30s. So as the old ways that were popular that my parents used and that I used as an adult and then as my kids, it's changing. So what's next? Like, social media is a way to communicate now. What's next? Anybody know?
Drones delivering letters to your porch.
Okay.
So
Amazon's 100% going down that trail right now, right? They're using drones to deliver packages in big cities. So, I mean, if we really knew, if anybody on here knew what was next, I'd want to partner up and see if we could, make some money, because we don't know what's next. We just don't have any idea what's going to happen next. But my point is, anything that you can do social media wise is going to advance you in the world of communication. And I personally feel like real estate is about communication. It's about relationship. It's about, how we stay in communication with people at the highest level. I try to teach my team right now, and most of the agents on my team are resistant to this, and that is text. I mean, I provide to them a CRM that has a texting system in it, and I try to get them to text people, because right now, other than social media, I think texting is the #1 way to communicate with people. Would I love to get on the phone and talk to everybody? Yes. But with caller ID and most phone numbers, I mean, I don't know if you know, but most cell phone numbers that make enough phone calls get marked as spam somehow. And so that's what comes up on people's phones. And it becomes more difficult to get people to communicate or answer their cell phone. So not that we've stopped doing that, we're still doing that. And texting and emailing are also ways that we're still trying to communicate. So who checks their email every day?
I do.
Okay, so it's still a fairly popular way. Is it frustrating at times when you open it up and there's 30 emails and 23 of those are advertisements of some kind or some kind of junk mail, and then the other 4 are, something that just doesn't pertain to you, and then you get 3 actual emails that you need to work on. So email is even becoming less desirable for most people because it just doesn't deliver enough value anymore. So I think a win in the social media world, even if it's just I feel more confident in my social media and I feel more confident in my social media presence, I think it's a huge win. So don't diminish that win, because that's big that you feel like you're starting to get some traction there. What else? Anybody else? Go ahead. Say that again.
I was just starting to see like the pieces fall into place, because I've been doing it for a little while and now I'm starting to get a return. So that part feels good, like you said, and it'll grow momentum.
Good. Anybody else have anything positive they want to bring up before we talk about today's subject?
Go ahead, Brandy.
So I have an offer to write today, so I mean, that's good.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's very good.
How did you find the person that you're writing the offer for?
It's in my SOI. She's a friend. Yep.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, that's exciting. Jeff, you got anything positive?
Well, I don't know. I'm sure I do. It's just, you know the joys of the business. So right now, the the fires seem to be outweighing the whatever. But yeah, I mean, it was good. Just,
Well, let me say this. I mean, there are times when the fires outweigh the good, right?
yes.
That only happens in one situation. What do you think that is? When you're busy.
Oh, I was going to say when I plan to go out of town.
Yeah, every single time you want to do more business, go out of town. Every single
Yeah.
time. Question.
Yeah.
But I think it's good to understand that when the fires outweigh the good, it's because you have business going. It's because you're doing things that are productive. So it's actually good to have a lot of fires. I know that sounds weird, but anytime I wake up and just go, man, I got like 40 things I got to deal with today, I'm like, no, I'm just thankful that I'm busy and I'm thankful that I've got, some stuff going on. All right. So
Amen.
What's that?
I said amen to that.
All right. So what I want to talk about today is your buyer consultation. Now I want you to know that I think words matter. I think what word you use in the specific slot in the sentence makes a difference. And so it's big. It's important to me that I and my team call our buyer appointments buyer consultations. It's a buyer consultation, not a buyer presentation, not a buyer appointment. It's a buyer consultation. And why? So what's significant between a buyer consultation compared to a buyer presentation? Does anybody know the significant difference?
Oh, when I hear presentation, I hear like I'm just going to sit there and someone's going to put on a show for me.
Okay.
Tell me on something like timeshare. I think timeshare when you say presentation.
Yeah.
Well,
All right.
Consultants are usually experts, and it's a little bit more collaborative.
Say that last part again.
It's more collaborative.
Okay. So for me, a presentation, I'm going to be politically incorrect for just a second. I'm always politically incorrect, but I actually caught myself this time before I said it. That's all. When I hear presentation, what I hear is I'm going to be sitting in a room with a bunch of monkeys, and there's going to be one at the front that's going to push a button, and there's going to be this movie or this show or this. It just feels like it's not an expert, it's not a professional. It's just a presentation. Anybody can run a video. Anybody can push the play on a PowerPoint and run a presentation. And I don't feel like that's what my clients want. My clients want to collaborate with me. My clients want me to care about them and ask them questions so that when we go look for a home for them, or if we even decide to go look for a home, we've discussed exactly what's important for them. So that's the big difference for me. One, presentation's about me. It's about whoever's giving the presentation. And let me just be really honest with you. Your buyers don't care about you. They only care about one thing, and it's about them. It's unfortunate. The world's kind of turned that direction. So be clear that buyer appointments should be consultations. It should be a question-based appointment, meaning you're asking them a bunch of questions, and they're answering those questions. You're asking more questions to verify their answers. And when you get to the end of a consultation, you should 100%, maybe 95% understand what their real estate goals and needs are. At the end of a presentation, you still have zero idea of what their real estate goals and or needs are. Does that make sense? But at the end of a consultation, you should know without a doubt exactly what they want to do, what they need to do, why they're doing it, when they need to get it done by, what their communication style is, how they want to talk to you, how they want you to talk to them, all of that stuff. So for those of you that are, so I'll get off my soapbox about consultations or presentations. I would love you to call your buyer appointments consultations. You should invite people to a consultation. When you go to the doctor, it's not a presentation, it's a consultation. It's more professional. You look smarter. Even if you're not, you still sound smarter, and that's exactly what we need to do, right? So I would ask you to call them consultations. For those of you that are familiar with my script book, I think everybody here has it. Okay, so starting on page 46 is our buyer consultation, and I want to go through it with you today. I want to give you my buyer consultation. So if you're on my team or you come in my apprenticeship program, and even if you're in my coaching, and it just depends on where you are and what level of your business. Jeff is one of the people in my coaching program. This is not something we've gone over because Jeff is very good at converting leads, very good at getting people. He knows how to do that. And I'm not saying nobody else does. I just don't know. And I thought how I do my buyer consultation might just be an insight to things that might change a little bit in yours. Sorry about that. All right. So I try to hold all my buyer consultations in the office. Try not to do those at their home. The reason is because my consultations, I need certain tools. One is I need internet access to the MLS so that we can look at properties at the end. And so I try to do all of those in the office. I try never to do them anywhere else. The only other place I would do them is at the counter in the kitchen of the first house that we look at. So we get in situations where buyers are coming in from out of town. We haven't had a chance to meet with them. We have some golden person pop into our world, and so we have to go find out what they're looking for. And maybe the best way to do that is to just meet me at this house because that's the house that they called on. It's a sign call or whatever that looks like. And so we could do it actually in a house, but I try not to do it at their house. I would rather do it in my world where I have all my tools. So call them into the office. Who would like to be my buyer today? Anybody want to be, like, this will be basically a role play.
I will.
Okay. All right. So you're the buyer. So Julie, hey, thanks for coming into the office today. I really appreciate you taking time out of your life and your busy schedule to come in today so that we can chat about what your real estate goals are and what your needs are. Before we get to that part, I want to just share with you kind of what my goals are and what's important to me during this appointment. So I want you to know that my goal today is for you to understand and see the value that I and my team bring to the buying process of buying a home. And I hope that we get along. And at the end of this, I want to make sure that you and I get into business together. What I mean by that is as we learn about what your real estate goals and needs are, I want you to want to work with me. And of course, I want to work with you. And that's my goal. Does that make sense?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Right. So let me be really clear. Also, there's a couple other scenarios that can happen. And one could be, Julie, that you just don't like me. I don't know that that's possible because the whole world likes me, but it is possible. You may not see the value in what I bring to the real estate buying process. You might not see the value of my team, and you may decide not to work with me. And I want you to know right now, before we even get started, that if you decide not to work with me, I'm not going to be offended. Like, I know that my personality doesn't fit everyone's personality, and you may choose not to work with me. That's not my goal. My goal is that we work together, right? And then, of course, the third scenario would be that I don't feel like I could fulfill your needs, or I don't know that I could help you purchase the home that you're trying to purchase. And I'd rather tell you that today than let you down later. And so I just want to make sure that we work together, that we both understand each other's goals, needs, and wants, and we can make this happen. So again, the third scenario is not my goal. I want to work with you. That's my goal. And so through this process, we're going to talk about a lot of stuff. And then at some point, we're going to have to decide whether we're going to work together or whether we're not going to work together. Does that make sense?
Yep, it does.
All right, good. So let me ask, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being not so desirable and 10 being extremely desirable, what's one thing that has to happen during this transaction for it to be a 10 for you? Like, what do I need to do, or what needs to happen that once we purchase this home, you're just going to say that was the best experience I could have had?
I think to know what's happening as the process unfolds. I don't want to be chasing anybody.
Okay, so understanding the process, and then it sounds like communication.
Yes.
Okay, good. I'm just going to write this down because I'm forgetful. So so communication and process. Perfect. So we're actually going to give you today, before you go, we're going to give you a 1-sheet page that talks about the buying process. It's something you could put on your fridge, and you can actually check off as we go through the process of purchasing. So we're actually going to help you with that today. And then just heads up, I'm pretty good at communication. That's I think that's one thing that real estate agents don't do very well. And I've really practiced and tried to be really good at communicating. So let me ask this. What is your communication style? Like, how do you want to be communicated? Is it phone calls? Do you like text? Do you want me to send emails? What's the best way for me to communicate with you?
Phone calls and texts.
Okay.
Both work really well.
All right, so here's how I typically work. I'll text you before I call you, just to let you know that there's something we need to talk about. And maybe through text, we could set up a time that works for both of us to jump on a phone call. Of course, if there's some type of emergency, and to be quite honest, there aren't a lot of emergencies in real estate, but if for some reason we had an emergency, I may just call you out of the blue. But typically I'm going to text first, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay, good. So let me ask this question. What's important about communication for you? Like, why is that a big deal?
Well, because in the past I've had situations where to try to call somebody and you can't get a hold of them, they don't call you back. It's very frustrating for me to wonder what's going on and then to not hear back.
Okay, yeah, so you call, leave a message, and nobody calls back. What's an acceptable time between the time you call and leave a message until that person calls you back? Like, what's an acceptable time frame?
I would say 1 to 2 days.
Oh, 1 to 2 days. Okay, well, my promise to you is that if you call and leave us a message, whether it's my admin team or whether it's me personally or somebody on my team, you're going to get a call back before the end of the day.
Oh,
We're never going to let it go overnight, because nobody wants to go to bed wondering what happened there. So that's my commitment to you. All right, let me ask this question, and this might be a little harder to answer, but what would make this a 10 plus? What would make this experience so great, like you would even get on the roof of your house and yell that I'm the greatest realtor in the world? Like, what would make it a 10 plus for you?
I think if you handled the entire process and you tell me what I need to do, what to send over, what's my next step. And so I'm not guessing what I need to do, or again, the communication that definitely puts it up higher for me. But just to guide me, I really think that would be helpful, so I'm not in the dark about what I need to do next.
Okay, so making sure that we keep you up on what's next.
Correct. And friendliness. I prefer if somebody's friendly, not, feeling like I'm an annoyance of I have to do this. I like a natural flow of things. That also would put it up higher for me.
All right, cool. So I'm hearing that what would make it a perfect 10 is that if we guided you through the process 100%, like we told you every single time, here's what will happen next, here's what will happen next, and keep you in touch with that. Okay, good, perfect. Why is that important? I mean, are you super involved? Do you tell me why getting direction is important?
Well, I'm really busy with family life and school for my kids, and to try to add another process on my plate is kind of tough right now. And also, I don't know anything about the real estate process. I mean, I know a little bit, but not enough to try to figure out the next step.
Cool. So let me just tell you, there's about 180 things that happen during a real estate transaction. You heard me correctly, 180. Yeah, it's a lot. And so what we are good at, and we have a dedicated admin team, and the admin team are in charge of many of those 180 things. to make sure that we keep you on track and keep the process going correctly. Most of your communication will come from me, and you may also hear from the admin team if there's some technical part of the transaction that they need you to do, like time to go open up escrow and deposit your EMD, and they'll give you direction on that. And so that part of the real estate process, my admin team will be in communication with you about that. Is that okay?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Good. So, hey, tell me about your house. What is it? Where's it at? What part of town?
It's in the Northwest.
Okay, so we're gonna go northwest. Define northwest for me. How far east would you go?
How far east? Well, I guess I'm more central north. So,
Okay, Aliante area.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. Aliante. How many bedrooms does it have?
4
Why 4?
4 bedrooms, 3 bath.
Okay. How come 4 bedrooms? Or is one of them an office, or do you actually need 4 bedrooms?
Well, so I'm the buyer, or am I a seller right now?
You're a buyer. This is a buyer.
Oh, okay. I was thinking I'm listing. Okay. 4 bedrooms, because I like to have a room for the parents, my kid, extra room for an office, and then just kind of an extra, like, fitness room.
Okay. So let me ask, is a 3-bedroom with a dedicated office an option, or do you want all 4 of them to absolutely be bedrooms?
No, I think I could do 3 with a dedicated office.
Okay. All right. Good. Tell me, is it a single story? Is it a 2-story? What else does it look like? What else is important to you?
I prefer a single story. I want something that already has landscaping. I love plants, so I want something that has some greenery, a little bit of backyard to move around in, some space. I would love like a half acre, but
Okay.
so.
Tell me, how many square foot is this house? Do you have a sense of how big it needs to be?
I would say 2,500 to 3,000. A little more would be good too.
All right. So just quickly, 4-bedroom single-story homes are a little rarer than a 2-story 4-bedroom, because you put 4 bedrooms on one level, takes up a lot of room. Most of those we probably would find on quarter acre or a half acre. But we're absolutely going to go look for that and see. How old is your home? Is it a newer home, or you want an older home?
Maybe nothing older than, say, 2,000.
Okay, so 2,000 plus. And how many garages do you need?
2, at least 2.
2.
If it was,
would 3 be okay?
yeah, that'd be perfect.
But not 1.
Not 1, no.
So 2 plus. What's your price range? How much do you think you're going to spend on this home?
Not more than 450. That's about where we want to cap out.
Okay. And you're paying cash, I'm sure.
No, not paying cash. We're gonna probably get a loan.
Okay. Have you talked to a lender?
I have not.
Okay. Do you have one in mind that you'd like to use?
No, I'm pretty new to the process, so I really don't know. I don't really know where to go.
Okay. So here's how we'll help you with that. We'll send you an email that will have a list of lenders. There'll be 3 lenders on the page, and you should call all 3 of those lenders and have conversations with them about getting a loan and what that looks like. And does that help you?
Yes, that does.
Okay. So here's what I got. I've got preferably a single story, 4 bedrooms, but a 3-bedroom with a dedicated den would work. It's up in the Aliante area, and it's 2,500 to 3,000 square feet, and we don't want to spend more than about 450. Does that sound right?
Yep.
All right. So is there anything else that is a must-have? Like, I'm not buying a house unless it has this.
I would say a bigger kitchen. I want kind of a nice modernized kitchen. I don't want to have to come in and redo cabinetry and things like that.
Okay. So when you say bigger, what is that? A lot of cabinet space? Is that something with an island? Is that what do you mean?
The island, yeah, an island, but just enough room to move around, counter space. So when we cook, we're not scrambling for space or trying to be on top of each other, because we like to cook. And so if there's 2 or 3 people cooking, we need that room.
Okay, so you need some counter space.
Yeah.
All right,
And
good.
and modern. I want it to be modern and pretty.
Okay. So what else? Anything else that's a must-have?
A must-have would be a nice neighborhood for my kids. I want it to be clean and safe, and maybe parks nearby. I know there's a lot of parks in Vegas, so that should be fairly simple to find, I would think.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of parks, and especially in some of the newer neighborhoods where the city's required parks, there's a lot. Let me ask this, is it a gated community? Is it guard gated, or is being gated at all important?
Well, not so much gated. No, if I could find without an HOA, that would be ideal.
Okay.
But I know that I don't know how possible that is. Maybe you could tell me how possible that part would be.
I will tell you that anything built from 2000 to now, very few, excluding custom homes on half-acre lots, it's a smaller percentage with no HOA. And if you want a really nice neighborhood and you want it to be clean, that's the value of the HOA. They make sure that the homeowners keep their landscaping and things clean. So we can obviously look at things with no HOA, but what I'm hearing from you is you really want an HOA, but maybe just a smaller price. You don't want to pay a bunch of money for it.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, good. Anything else that's a must-have?
I don't think so.
Okay.
That's all I can think of right now.
All right. So we're gonna specifically look for this home on the MLS as soon as we're done here, as long as we decide to work together, which is my goal, of course. We're gonna get you a list of lenders that you can call and talk to about getting a loan. And then let me just a couple more questions, and then we'll start looking at some houses. How does somebody win with you? Like how do I win with you? What's the best way to win?
The best probably is kind of like we talked before, communication and friendliness. I mean, I like friendly people.
So you probably like the be kind movement then.
Somewhat. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. I don't know. I'm kind of the person, I'm a hugger. And so, I like to connect with people. And so I like that connection. I mean, if it doesn't happen, yes, I like the business aspect, but I definitely like to feel like I, am connecting with people.
Okay. So just a heads up, I'm not a hugger. I'm a great communicator. And there are many people on my team who are huggers, and so you'll probably run into those people.
I don't need a hug every day. That's not, required, but that's a win with me. If I feel like the fun connection, goes to the top of the list. Yeah.
Okay, good. So let me ask this: how do I lose with you, or how do I do wrong by you?
Not calling me back and being rude. Maybe, if you get angry, like easily of my questions, because again, I'm new to this. So because I've had situations in the past where, I'm asking questions and the person gets mad about my learning the process, then I'm going to move on.
Okay. So I will tell you that I encourage questions. I want you to ask as many questions as you want to ask. I want you to be 100% clear every single day of what's going on and what's next. So I love questions. I'll never get mad about you asking questions. My admin team is the same way. You can call us at any time and we'll answer every single question you have, because that's part of the process. And we like that. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I hope I'm pretty good at not getting mad at people. So we'll see how that goes. So let me ask, what do you feel you have the right to expect from my real estate team besides communication?
Besides communication, being knowledgeable, knowing what you guys are doing and the areas of town, that's definitely a plus. I expect, if an agent on your team is going to come show us a property, that you know where you're going. We don't get lost.
Okay. All right, good. And what do you feel like we have the right to expect from you?
I believe communication as well. And I'll get back to you. I'll play my part because we're ready to go. So you won't have to chase me to try to get a hold of me or get things done. So,
Okay, so when we call you, you'll call us back in a reasonable amount of time.
yes, it may be 1 or 2 days. But with my busy schedule, but I definitely will.
Okay. Well, we'll at least text you if we don't hear back from you in a time frame. And let me be honest, there are some things at times in real estate that are time sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
In that situation, I will for sure let you know this is a time sensitive issue, and we need to get back. All right. So any other questions, any other concerns, anything that we didn't cover you were hoping we would cover?
Well, so what do we do now? You're going to run a search, or how does that work?
Yeah. Well, right now, I'm going to say to you, it's the time for you and I to decide if we're going to work together or not. I'm 100% clear on what you're looking for. I'm 100% confident I can help you find the home that you want to buy. And so I'm ready to work with you. The question is, are you ready to work with me?
I am.
Okay, good. So just real quick, there's 4 documents we need to go over real fast and get your signature on, and I'll explain these at as high level as I can. And then we're going to jump on that computer right there, and we're going to look up homes that fit your criteria, and we're going to set a time to go look at those homes. Is that cool? You got 10 more minutes?
Yep, sounds good.
Good. So here's the first document. It's called the Duties Owed. So the Duties Owed is a document that we use. It's required by the state of Nevada. Basically what it says is that I, as a real estate agent, have a fiduciary duty to you to look out for your best interest over anybody else's, even my own. And so here it is, and I'm happy to let you read it. Take as much time as you need to go through and read it. This just talks about my duties to you and my duties to the public and my duties to other people that may come into the transaction, but that my highest duty is to you, my fiduciary duty. And so go ahead and read that, and I'm going to need you to decide whether you want me to represent both sides of the party or not, and we can talk more about that, and then just sign at the bottom.
Okay. What do you mean by represent both sides? What does that mean?
Well, there may be a time when I have a listing that you want to purchase. And so I would have, obviously at that point, I would represent the seller. And you would have to give me permission to represent you also. Does that make sense?
Okay, yeah.
Now, here's what I'm going to tell you. I don't like to be in that situation. So I have a real estate team, and if that ever really did happen, I would actually probably have you work with another agent on my team so that they can represent you and I can represent the seller, and it can be as fair as possible.
Okay.
For me, if you don't allow me to represent both sides, I'm totally fine with that. In fact, I would encourage you to do that.
Okay, that's what I'll do then. That sounds.
Okay, good. So here's the second document. It's called we call it the Team Duties Owed. It basically just has a list of all the agents on my team and their license numbers. And I'm just disclosing to you that they have the same fiduciary duty as I do. And so if you want to look down that list and see if you know anybody on that list, and if you have any concerns with any people on that list, and if not, go ahead and sign the bottom.
Okay.
Good. So do you have access to your email on your phone?
I do.
I emailed you a document before we sat down. It's called the Residential Disclosure Guide. Can you just look on your phone to make sure you got that document?
Okay. Yep, I got it.
Okay, good. So this next document is just a receipt of receiving that book. There are a lot of disclosures that we use in the state of Nevada, and that document I sent you is basically the dictionary I just lost my mind. Encyclopedia. Gosh, I don't know why I couldn't say that. of all of the disclosures. So if we send you a disclosure and you're not 100% clear on what that is, you could refer back to this residential disclosure guide and it would help you understand the disclosures. And so sign this one. It's just saying I gave it to you. It's not saying that you read it. It's not saying that you agree to anything. It just says, and I'm required by Nevada state law to present this to you. You're just saying I gave it to you.
Okay.
Okay, good. All right, and here's the last document. This is called our buyer loyalty agreement. This is the document that says that you're going to be loyal to me and I'm going to be loyal to you. I'm going to help you achieve all of your real estate goals. And in return for that, you're going to work exclusively with me, meaning that you're not going to be talking to other real estate agents about buying a home. You're not going to go to new home tracks without letting me know so I can be there with you. And you're not going to go to any open houses without me knowing before you go to that. The reason is, and let me just be really blunt and honest, I don't want to try to hide anything. This is what I do for a living. This is how I feed my kids. And this document is basically protecting me getting paid when we find you that perfect home. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that sounds fair.
All right, good. So on there, you'll see that we have a minimum commission of 3% or $4,000. Based on your price point, you're going to be well above that $4,000, so you shouldn't have to worry about that. But we do get paid a minimum of 3%. And what that means, and you can see in parentheses there, it's all highlighted, that if the co-op from the seller is less than 3%, that you would be willing to make up the difference. So if it was 2.5, then you'd pay the extra 0.5% at closing. We don't collect any money up front. It's all done at closing. And you also, if you read down a little further, you'll see that you give us the authority to ask for that difference in closing costs from the seller so that it doesn't actually come out of your pocket. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, and then there's a $4.95 admin fee that we charge. That helps pay for my admin and for all the stuff that we need to keep you going through the process so that we have a high level of communication. And so again, we can ask for that in the closing costs, or you can just pay that at the end when you're ready. So go ahead and read that. Any questions, let me know. Happy to answer any questions. Just sign there at the bottom. And while you're reading that, I'm going to get started with looking up some homes on MLS. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine, but I do have a question. So can you explain to me that 2.5 versus the 3%? So I would be paying an extra 0.5%? Is that what that means?
Correct. Yeah, and here's my commitment to you. If we go look at a home that's only offering 2.5%, I will tell you that so that you will know that this house is a house that you would have to make up the difference in the 0.5%, and then we can write your offer accordingly.
Okay, and then I pay that at the end, of course.
Yeah, that would be at the end. Of course, we don't care.
Okay.
We don't collect any money up front.
Okay.
Are you good?
Yep, I'll sign that one.
All right, cool. All right, so let's look at some homes. So guys, that's my buyer consultation. It's called the 10+ consultation. As you can see, it was all scripted. I was literally reading these questions to her as I was going through the consultation. If you look at page 46, you'll see that the top of this is all color coded. And then those color codes match these questions. So I know when I'm in the red, I'm asking red questions. And as I move on to the next section, which was the home, it's this section down here. As I move on to financing, I keep my notes down here. So all of these questions are color coded, and you basically cover all 8 of these sections, and you're out looking at houses. That's it. It's literally that simple. There's no, that's how I do it. Questions, concerns, comments. How'd I do? Good, bad, ugly? Let's be honest with each other.
That's good.
I like it. It's simple, and I like that you have a script that kind of keeps you on track.
So the reason I did the script this way was 2 reasons. Number 1 was I tend to be long-winded. So I found myself in buyer consultations that were taking an hour and an hour and a half. Look, the buyer doesn't want to be stuck in an office with me for an hour and a half. Like they're worn out by my long-windedness, right? So this kept me this, by practicing it enough times, I can keep my consults to 30 minutes, which is, if you look at the clock, about how long that took. And the second reason is because as a real estate agent with lots of fires, as Jeff pointed out earlier, lots of things going on, I tend to be a little absent-minded at times. Like, I'll forget to ask the question, how do I win with you? Like, how do I lose with you? I'll forget to ask those questions. And I think they're important questions. As you've seen in this particular one, everything basically boiled down to two things. It was great communication and be nice to me. And so it's really nice. And there's another question I should have asked, and that would be, hey, Julie, just one last question. On a scale of 1 to 10, how honest can I be with you? Like, if I have some news that I need to give you that may not be the greatest news that you need to hear, can I present that at a level 10, which would be just super blunt? Or do I need to be at a 1, which is kind of beating around the bush?
I'd say a 10. Just be straightforward.
Okay, great. And I tend to be a 10 when it comes to that. And so that's why I asked that question, because I can back it off a little bit, but my nature, my natural style is just to be a 10. So anyway, that's it. I have nothing else to tell you unless you want questions to ask.
So Todd,
Yes.
I'm getting ready to sign this loyalty, and this home that we're looking at, you told me it pays only 2%. And then you also said that we could ask the seller to cover that plus the $495. But what if the seller says no? Then what happens?
You would be responsible for it at the closing.
So I'd be responsible for $4,000 plus the $495.
Doing the math, yes, that sounds correct.
Wow. And what if I'm not comfortable with that?
Well, we should talk about it, because I want to make sure that when you leave here today, you're 100% comfortable. But quite honestly, it sounds like we're standing in a house right now, and this is one that you're thinking about writing an offer on it. You know, we could write your offer according to that as well. Like, we could write the offer for less money. We could ask for the closing costs. And let me be just really honest with you. If we get down to the end and this truly is the house that you love and it's the one that you have to live in, and we don't get it worked out, you and I will figure it out together.
Okay, so I don't have to worry that $4,500 is going to keep me. $4,500 is going to keep me from getting my dream home.
Yeah, I would never let it get between you and your dream home, for sure. And at the same time, I need to make sure that we make enough money on the deal that we can still live, if that makes sense.
Fair enough.
So guys, when it comes down to the $495 and the whole commission conversation, we as agents think of great objections for that. We can come up with every objection we've ever been afraid of. Let's be honest. The truth is, there isn't a single buyer out there that doesn't want you to make money. We're always afraid that people think we make too much money, and so they don't want us to make money. But there isn't a single buyer that would look at you and go, I don't care how much money you make, I just want to buy my dream house. Like, that's just not how relationships happen. And Jeff, let me be honest, if that came up in the consult, I may choose option 3. I may choose not to work with them. Now, I would probably hook them up with somebody in my office that would be willing to work for less than 3% and get a 25% referral fee. But my team, we try really hard to keep our average commission at 3%. And we do that through this buyer loyalty agreement. Last year in 2019, on the listing side, our average commission was 3.2. And on the buy side, it was 3.4, because we got a couple of new homes that had 5% commissions, and we bought a couple 4%ers. And so my goal every year, and honestly, it might be one of my very top goals for my agents, is to keep the commission above the 3%, because then it makes sense for them to stay on my team. But if I'm beating them up with the 2.5% all the time, and they're only getting their cut at 2.5%, it just adds up over time. So don't be afraid of the loyalty agreement. Don't be afraid of the commission conversation. I think Julie will tell you she felt super comfortable. I mean, she wasn't going to let $450 get in between her and her home when she's buying a $450,000 house. If you're buying a $70,000 condo, yeah, or a trailer or double wide, yeah, that's a tougher conversation for sure, because those people probably don't have 500,000. But as an agent, I just have to decide if I want to help them or not. And it's not, if I decide I don't want to help them, I'm not saying that in a bad way. I'm just going to give them to another agent that's going to help them a lot better than I can. Like if you ask me where all the trailer parks are in town, I don't even know, because I just have never sold that product. So I'd feel more comfortable giving it to somebody who had sold trailers or double wides, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
What else?
So I struggle with, well, like for example, the offer I'm writing today, I never did a buyer consultation with her because it's a friend. And for some reason, I struggle with setting that expectation in the beginning with friends. And then I found when I don't do a buyer consultation, they walk all over me and somewhat take advantage of me. So how do I get past that? I mean, I guess it's something within me.
You just make it your standard of practice. What is your friend's name?
Joan.
Hey, Joan, I'm so excited to help you buy a home. Let's meet at the office whenever's convenient for you. And I just need to go through, I just need to go through a set of questions with you so that I'm 100% clear on what you're looking for. And I like to do it at the office because I want to keep it the same as I run the rest of my business. And I want to have a consult with you. I want to sit down and consult with you over what you're going to be buying. It just has to become part of your business. Like I can't show houses unless A, I've done a consult, or B, I know when that consult's going to happen. And again, it might happen at the counter of the first house. And that consult that I just did, like you probably don't need to ask the questions about how can I win with you? How can I lose with you? You don't need to ask those questions because it's your friend. You already know the answers to that stuff. But talking about exactly what their house looks like, talking about their financing, I find that the easiest way to segue at any time in any conversation into talking to a lender is I just accuse them of buying the house in cash. So, hey, you're going to be paying cash for this house, right? Hey, Joan, you guys are paying cash for the house, right?
Yeah.
What's she going to say? Okay, so cool.
In this case, yeah.
Have to talk about it, right? There's one other thing that I did quite a bit in that consult that I don't know if you noticed, but when I asked the question, what did I do next?
Repeated the answer.
Okay, what did I do before that?
Put it down.
I shut up and listened. I asked Julie a question and I didn't say another word, which forced her to answer. Made her think about the question I asked, and she answered. And yeah, then I would write it down and then I would repeat it back to her. So the biggest, one of the challenges that humans have is they ask a question and they're afraid of the silence that follows the question. It gets to be very scary, right? Like Shannon, how many people are you going to call today? See, Shannon had to answer because I wasn't going to let her off the hook. Right? I mean, it's about ask the question and shut up. Like, hey, Julie, are you good to go now?
Yeah, I am.
All right, good. So you have the way they say it is that silence does all the heavy lifting for you. All the stuff that's hard, all the stuff that you don't want to talk about, all the stuff that you feel insecure about. Ask the question and zip it up. They're going to answer.
My dad used to tell us as kids, silence is golden, be golden.
Yes, be golden. Like on script practice, when we're on script practice, I'll ask who's going to go next, and then I'll just wait. I don't say another word. I don't beg anybody. I just don't say another word. And somebody will finally go, okay, I'll go, because they can't handle the silence that's in the room. So that's a big part of consults. That's a big part of getting people to sign contracts is when you ask the question that you need to ask, zip it up. Don't ask another question. Don't let them off the hook. Let them answer. All right, what else?
How does it go for you? So if you're putting in the offer, do you try to get the 3% in the offer? Do you like call the agent in advance and say, this is the deal and I'm going to include this in the offer? Like, how do you negotiate that?
We add it to the closing costs, just in the buyer's closing costs section. And then we inform the listing agent that that's what the closing cost is for, and that we have a buyer broker agreement signed, and that the buyer is not willing to purchase the property unless the seller is willing to pay the full commission.
Okay.
Now, there's another way to handle that. You can call beforehand and try to negotiate it, and then get them to send you a updated commission instructions. I just find that to be harder, because then the listing agent has to go talk to the seller about raising the commission. But if it's in the closing cost, it's just in the closing costs. I mean, it's just part of the deal, part of the net. So I think it's an easier conversation.
Gotcha.
And then also the buyer fee. Do you have that on the contract, or you put that on a separate form?
It's on my loyalty agreement. And
Okay.
that's what I use for escrow. When we tell them there's a $495 BAC fee, that's what I send to escrow, and that's what they honor because it's signed. That's what I put in my SkySlope files as the additional commission form that they ask for in there. We just use our loyalty agreement. It's the same as a buyer broker agreement, but I feel like saying buyer broker agreement doesn't sound as good as a buyer loyalty agreement. Like, I want to present it as a loyalty agreement. I'm going to be loyal to you. You're going to be loyal to me. I talk about the fact that it protects my income. That's what this document is really for. And we'll always let you know when that comes up. I can tell you that I've used a loyalty agreement for more than 10 years. I've had 2 people walk out because of it. That's it. Don't get a bunch of pushback on it. People are just excited to go buy houses. And I'll also tell you that probably more than 50% of the agents in the Valley right now are using buyer broker agreements to protect their income. I'll tell you, there's 5 companies that I can think of that you're required to use the buyer broker agreement. And if you don't, they will fire you, because they're trying to protect their income as well, because they're split-based companies. And they get a split of your deal, and if you're giving it away at 2.5%, they're making less money. Caldwell, if you go to Caldwell, our broker agreement has to be signed. End of conversation. Or they'll sit you down and talk to you about it. So don't be afraid to use it, because everyone else is using it as well, and it just protects your income. That's all. Could you at the end go, you know what? I'm good. We'll take the 2.5. We're not going to worry about that extra 0.5%. I mean, you could always do that if it felt right. Like, I feel like every time I waive that up front, the transaction becomes the worst transaction in the history of my business. When I have that in place, it's always smooth and easy, and it just goes nice. And at the end, I can go, you know what? We're not going to collect the 0.5%. They wouldn't pay it. I'm good. You are awesome. We love you as a client. Like, it gives me an opportunity to be the hero again, which I've been throughout the transaction. But at the end, when I save them some money, now they're telling all their friends, right? So there's another script that's in that same section of the script book. It's called the 3 Goal for Active Buyer script, and this is a script that we use anytime that we're talking to our buyers. So if I'm making my weekly call, if I'm whatever I'm doing, we use this script on that. It's quite long, and we don't use all of it all the time at the same time, but you should go read that. And what it's designed to do is to get you 2 referrals from that buyer between the time they go under contract and the time they close.
What page is that one?
That's on page 48. All right, so I've kept you 2 minutes longer. Any other questions? I'm happy to answer any questions. I'm not on time frame. Okay.
How much pre-screening do you do before booking a consultation? Like, I get a ton of clients that would do a consultation with me, but they are nowhere near getting approved, and it would be years.
Okay.
So how much do I negotiate the time, you know?
So for me, I do most of my negotiating on that between the time I set the appointment and the time that we meet. I try to set as many appointments as I can. And then after that, that's when I go, oh, hey, by the way, have you talked to a lender? No, haven't talked to a lender. Okay, great. I'm going to have Aaron give you a call. Aaron's my preferred guy. He's just going to chat with you and see what that looks like. And then people always say, well, what if Aaron never talks to them? Then I don't meet with them. Like it's important to me that they've talked to a lender before I meet. And you get a sense too, right? I mean, you can tell whether they're, possible or not possible. You can ask enough questions. I'll talk to them 2 or 3 times before I actually meet with them and asking them the right questions, trying to pre-screen them, make sure they talk to my lender, and then we have our consult. And if they've already talked to a lender and I know that in the consult, then my conversation is about, hey, what did Aaron say? Is he getting you a pre-qual letter? Has he asked you for your tax returns? Like, I get a sense of where they are in that process. If you look at page 18, which is my internet script, one of the questions is, are you paying cash or are you getting finance? And so we've already kind of had that conversation in some of the situations.
Okay.
What else? Good?
Good.
Okay. Hope that helps. I think you should have a pretty standard set buyer consultation, and it should be something that you can jump into at any minute and do it. Whether it's in an elevator, whether it's at the counter in a house that you're looking at, whether it's at an open house or we've held many consults in an open house. Hey, come over here and let's talk about kind of what your needs and wants are, and we don't show houses till we get into contract. If she had not signed my 4 documents, we wouldn't go show houses. That's not being in business together. So, all right, guys, have a good rest of your week. Jeff, I know you're traveling out of town, so travel safe. Lisa's gone now. She's in Pahrump today doing a walkthrough. I was going to tell her to travel safe, but anybody else traveling this weekend?
No, I'm getting rid of my family though.
You what?
No, but I'm getting rid of my family. I'll be all alone for a week.
Oh.
I know.
That just means you can do a lot of lead generation.
Yeah, it does.
All right, guys, have a good rest of the week.
Thank you, Todd.
Thank you.